Hello and welcome back to the RDA. I am joined with Malota for another episode of the 433 podcast, and this is a bit of a juicy one. Had a lot of great fixtures last night, and we've just got a lot to talk about. So, Malota, how are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm feeling good. Like a lot of good fixtures, you said.
Yeah.
A lot of weird results, actually. Some teams dropping off. And yeah, some teams taking that claim at the top. So it's going to be a good show.
Yeah, I think that's kind of just a critique of the season as a whole, in a way, that this is such a competitive season, and that not
Mm,
every result that we expect to go one way will go that way this season. It's been a
yeah,
good fight.
yeah. And to be honest, as much as I want to see a team play at an insane standard and get 98 points, it's always
Yeah,
entertaining when it's more competitive.
exactly. Always makes for a much more competitive league. And there's only one way,
Mm,
one place to start for us, and it's at Anfield again. We're sensing a pattern. Got to start with Liverpool. Got to start with the champions, going up against the team that was holding that top spot for a few games against Spurs.
mm.
So, what were your initial thoughts of the game?
It was a really good game. Champions versus challengers, they branded it, and I thought it was a really, really good watch. I think a lot of people disagree because of the way Mourinho plays. I know people don't
Yeah,
like the whole defensive thing, and he went all out. Like those points in the game, it looked like the whole Spurs team was in their own box. And for me, I just feel like it's entertaining to see contrasting styles. Like yes, quick fire football is cool, but for me, just having people like Diego Simeone and Jose Mourinho in the football world, something different, something that goes against the status quo. I think that's cool,
yeah,
and I think we saw it at its pinnacle in this game. Um, we got Mourinho who's playing a very sit back defensive style and counter.
yeah,
Like I'm looking at the stats here, that 8 shots and two on target. So they has to use the minimal chance they had. And you got Liverpool who press very high and are more possession based. And I think it made for a really entertaining tactical game. And
yeah,
yeah, I think Spurs will regret a lot of chances. I think Kane
yeah,
had a few good chances. I think Son took the the one chance that Son usually does. But I think much like the Chelsea game, they had a lot of chances. I think they could have won this game, to be honest.
yeah,
And one will say, how can you say that if they didn't have much of the ball? But that's how Spurs play. They don't have much of the ball, and they make the most of the few chances they get. But on the other hand, Liverpool, I think Liverpool are showing why they're champions because they have so many injuries right now. But somehow they're still able to compete at the highest level. They're still able to compete
yeah.
with probably the number one challenges right now and even win at the end of the day. So thought it was a really good game. Thought good goal for Firmino. I think there's been a lot of critics. So I think that celebration was justified because they've been saying he can't score goals, but he scored the winning goal in the 90th
Yeah,
minute. So really good
exactly.
watch.
Admittedly, that Firmino goal was put on a plate from a peach of a free kick from Robertson.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
was Robertson was on his game for crosses today, to say the least. It was really good showing from him, and just that Liverpool attitude of never say die right now.
Mm,
It's something spectacular, and it's something only champions have. And I just they just look like the best team in the league right now. It doesn't look like anybody can
mm,
compete, and it's ridiculous to say that considering the injury crisis that they're currently going through. They're starting
it's
Curtis
insane.
Jones week in, week out. They're starting some reserve centre back.
Williams.
Yeah.
Mm,
And it's just random which one's going to play on the day. It's not even like it's set in stone at this
mm.
point. And
It's insane.
Liverpool are in
It's
a
insane
mess.
how
So, yeah,
they can bring in players like any player really, but still play at the same level. And I think that's a huge compliment to Klopp because they've just got this
yeah,
specific system that they play that runs through the whole team to the under 23s, under 20s, and they just know what they're doing. And it's the same thing, it's completely drilled. And
yeah,
I was saying during the game that as good as Spurs are defensively, if there's any team that can put them under pressure and break down the defense of Liverpool, because they move the ball so quickly, they swish it so much, so it
yeah.
was very difficult for Tottenham to keep up with.
Yeah, and admittedly, Liverpool weren't on their game defensively, and they haven't been this season at all. I still think this is something that Liverpool needs to kind of look at and address. They have been conceding an awful amount of goals, and they have been conceding a lot of chances. Like Bergwijn's chance he had two shots on goal, one hit the post and one went wide, that I recall, and then Son going to good spaces, Kane going to good spaces.
Mm.
Admittedly, this is Spurs, but we saw it last week as well against Fulham. I think this is something that Klopp has to be working on in the training ground. This is something he has to be addressing, trying to fix his defensive issues. What are your thoughts on the defensive frailties? Will it hold them back, or will they just keep on steamrolling past teams in the 90th minute somehow?
Yeah, no, it's a nice problem to have. Not a nice problem to have. Like to have defensive issues and
Yeah.
still be top of the table. That's insane. What
Yeah.
does that say about the rest of us? But I think, yeah, losing Van Dijk was never going to be easy. I mean, he's everything to them. He's the most talented.
Yeah.
He's a leader back there. And I think Williams made a couple of mistakes. I think for the first goal, he was poor watching a little and wasn't marking Son, so he was slightly to blame for
Yeah.
that. So, yeah, I think if somehow they don't win the league, it's going to be because of defense. Because who do they draw to? They drew to Fulham, so that can
Yeah.
happen. When I feel like the attack won't always be on it. They play a very intense game, and they won't always be on it. And without Van Dijk to cover up for that, they will drop silly points, which
Yeah.
they didn't do last season. So I don't know what he's going to do. I don't know what he's going to do. I think they're going to have to somehow hold it out until their players come back from injury.
Yeah. But also, just to add on to the previous point, it's just, haven't you also felt that they were conceding more chances even when Van Dijk was in the squad at the beginning of the season? It's felt like it hasn't been like just an immediate thing that Van Dijk left. Now we are conceding more
Mm,
chances. It felt like Liverpool fell off defensively entirely, and then they kind of lost
mm.
Van Dijk on top of that to make matters worse. But they're still winning games somehow.
Yeah, no, that's true. I think remember last season they had like 6 clean sheets in the first 3 games or something like
Yeah,
that, something ridiculous like that. I think start of this season they conceded 3 goals to Leeds in the first game, and they've
yeah,
been playing an insane high line. You're right. Defensively, they have looked a bit like they're not as on it as they were last season. I feel like maybe last season they were had so much what's the word, drive to win the title that they were organized in every single department. I feel like if there's any department where they've probably dropped off and they are not as intense anymore, it probably is defensively.
yeah. Definitely can agree. And just
Mm.
last take on this. What are your thoughts on Harry Kane and Hyungmin's song, who have been lighting it up this season? They're going for records. The records are about to be broken, and it's just looking really, really good for those two talisman at Spurs.
Mm. I don't know what records specifically, so you can let me know that.
The
But
partnership records of the
really,
partnership with goals. I think they're tied with Lampard and Drogba's, if I remember correctly, right now.
jeez,
Yeah, so they've got a
that's some
really,
company.
really good season
That's
so
some
far.
company you want to keep.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
Uh, uh,
Look,
I think it was Kane's on 13 assists or something like ridiculous this season. He's
wait,
pulled
in
a
general in the league,
madness. I'll bring up for both quick.
it
But
must be in general. That's in
he's
the league. That's insane.
10 assists, 9 goals in the league. That's what it was. In 13 games.
10 assists.
In 13 games.
That
Harry Kane
is
has been
insane.
out of this world. 10
That's insane.
assists.
Like I've never doubted this dude. I feel like there was a point where in football you forget easy. You have 2 bad seasons and they write you off. But Harry Kane is a world class player,
Yeah,
and I feel like he just needed the right environment to get over his injury and the right managers in Jose Mourinho. But yeah, it seems like they found the trick there somehow. It seems like
yeah,
as much as a brilliant goal scorer, he's a really really good creator, and him dropping back and Son finding those spaces has worked out. It's insane how well it's worked out. It's insane how they can
yeah.
do the same thing over and over and over every single game, and somehow players and teams can't stop it. So it's phenomenal, honestly.
Yeah, it really is. And also on
Mm.
Son, 11 goals, 4 assists, 13 games. Just to show how influential they've both been this season. Son has already
Yeah, no,
scored
that's
more goals than he did the entirety of last season. And honestly,
imagine.
I'm a big Son fan, and I know he had a really bad season last season. So it's really good for him to come out of this and do it in this fashion.
Mm.
and just so much to Spurs right now. They've been doing really well,
Mm.
and I kind
I
of
feel
hope they
like
continue.
who didn't have a bad season at Spurs last season, you know? So
Yeah, that's true.
yeah, these two these two are world class players. Like I think, to be honest, they're the only world class players Spurs has. And the only worry is that they rely on them so much, and you just feel like it's bound to happen, and one of them's going to get injured.
Yeah,
And
Kane
what happens
injury,
then?
it's done. What do Spurs do? Because I honestly don't think they come back if Kane gets injured.
Yeah,
Like Son
I
will,
worry
will
about them
still
to be
get a
honest.
goal, but it's just yeah, I worry
Yeah,
about them as well.
because if anyone knows me, I like Spurs. I like Jose Mourinho, and honestly, I wouldn't like anything more in this world. Yes, obviously United win the league, but after that it's Spurs because I just want the haters to keep quiet about Jose
Yeah,
Mourinho. I think he's a brilliant manager, and he's had some rough patches, and I feel like we shouldn't be so harsh on him because of that. But at the same time, I worry about them because I look at the table here, and as amazing as they've been, they're like what? Only a few points from out of the top four. That's how tight this league has been. And
no,
you think about how they rely on those two players. You think about how they have the Europa League. You think about how Jose was going to want to win every trophy, so he's going to play his best team in the Carabao Cup. He's going to play his best team in the FA Cup. I just worry that will there come a point where it just seems like it's all falls apart?
yeah. I feel like it's inevitable. I think we all know that Harry Kane is due an injury. He always gets one every season that's going to take him out for just some time. No clue how long it'll
Mm,
be, but something always comes around. And just a small
yeah.
debate. Do you think Hugo Lloris is world class?
I think I have to say yes. As much as I think he makes mistakes, I feel like he's
Yeah,
played at the highest level consistently. He's kept his spot at Tottenham
yeah,
consistently. Yes, one can say he hasn't that much competition, but he has. And he's won, he lifted the World Cup trophy. He was the captain
yeah,
lifting the World Cup trophy. So I think he's done enough to be in the category. But hey, sometimes he flirts with the outside. Sometimes he
yeah.
lives dangerously, to be
Okay,
honest.
so if you had to, absolutely had to, no choice about it, Allison versus Lloris, who are you picking?
I'm taking Addison. I'm sorry. I think as much as he has a World Cup, as much as a World Cup medal, he makes a lot of mistakes. Like
Yeah,
not a lot, but he makes silly mistakes. I never really see silly mistakes from Allison. Once in a while, but I
yeah,
think overall Allison's a better keeper.
yeah. That's fair enough. To each their own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before we move on, do you think Liverpool is definitely going to win the league, or
I don't think
do you
this is
think it's?
definitely in the season. There's nothing
Mm,
finite in the season, in my opinion. I think Leeds could still win the league if they tried at this point. Like, it's
really?
such a good season that anything can happen. I genuinely am
Mm,
in the opinion that anybody can still win it. And it feels like
yeah.
everybody's kind of not 100% in it to win it. It's kind of just everybody's faltering and nobody's quite taking
Mm,
advantage of it yet. Like
yeah.
Southampton's come out of nowhere, they're in third, Leicester fourth, Everton
Mm.
fifth, West
That's
Ham
13 games.
seventh.
It's not a fluke, really.
Yeah,
13 games, a lot of games.
West Ham are ahead of Man City and United.
Yeah,
Just to
that's
put
insane.
this league into just perspective, both the Manchester teams are under West Ham, Everton, Leicester, Southampton.
Mm,
Like this
it's
is
insane.
going to be a fantastic league, and it's probably going to go down to the wire. It's not going to be like last season where Liverpool had won it by what, like the 10th game in, probably. In all honesty,
Mm,
when everybody else showed
yeah,
weakness, Liverpool showed nothing. So
yeah. I feel like
yeah,
they're a frailty, you know. I think they are favourites. I think we can't run away from that
yeah,
because they're top of the table with injuries. But at the same time, you just never know in football. With the tight league like this, I feel like they might get Van Dijk back. Salah could get injured. Mane could get injured. There's just a lot of injuries right now with the amount of games they're playing. They're still in the Champions League. They're still in most trophies. So I don't know.
yeah,
I don't think it's definitely. I think
yeah,
Liverpool fans will disagree with me because they're top of the table now. But I just think it's going to be an open season.
yeah. Definitely agree. No question about that. It's going to be a fantastic season. And then we're going to have to talk about a relegation candidate versus a newcomer in the top
Um,
six. Arsenal versus Southampton.
Wow. Imagine.
Roles have
Like,
been reversed. Arsenal are the team
imagine.
battling for mid-table, while Southampton are fighting for a league trophy. Never thought
Yeah.
I'd see the day come when I could say those words. What are your thoughts on where Arsenal are at the moment? What are your thoughts on the game overall? Let's hear
To
it.
be honest, I'm surprised he's still in the job. Honestly, I'm shocked he's still in the job because he's
Yeah,
sitting in 15th place.
yeah,
15th. That's insane. Like, I've seen these Arsenal fans just destroy managers for like Unai Emery. They were done with him.
yeah,
They were just not interested. But I guess because he's a legend, he gets a
yeah,
bit of leeway. But it's a serious problem with Arsenal right now, and I don't know how they're going to solve it. I don't know who can solve this. But let me just focus on the game first.
yeah,
I think Southampton played better. Honestly, I thought they were the better team, but I think Arsenal dug in and they did enough. But I thought it was a really good goal from Theo Walcott. And more so in the second half, it looked like Arsenal were the small team and Southampton were the big team. And it just seems like Arsenal can't get out. They're so defensive. It seems like they're very poor in the transition. And I don't know why that is because as much as I don't have Ozil or a Bruno Fernandes or Kevin De Bruyne, I think they have decent midfielders.
yeah,
And I think Arteta came to the club and came with his style that was similar to Pep's style. He wants to hold the ball. For some strange reason now, he's moved away from that. And if I have to try getting his mind, I think he's realized that this club's not going to back him. So
yeah,
he needs to try and ground out results and kind of do what Ole's been doing. And maybe because that's a safer style, maybe you concede less goals, you play on the counter, maybe he can do something with this team.
yeah,
But it's just not working. They just don't seem to know how to play it. There's too many of them behind the ball. On a transition, it just seems like they don't know what they're doing. It's very poor.
yeah.
So it's a massive problem with Arsenal. Like, like I can't even put it into words. It's
Yeah.
such a big job at Arsenal. I
Would
think
you agree with pundits right now saying that the main concern in the Arsenal camp is that lack of creativity in the midfield?
I think so. To be honest, I think so. Like it's weird because they've always been known for the team that's attack first, and then we have defensive
Exactly.
frailties that will slow us down, but we'll go for it either way. And I think that's the approach he should be taking. You know, I don't think he should be being such a coward and trying to play a five at the back or two holding midfielders and
Yeah,
just neglecting attack because it seems like they just can't create right now. I mean, the fact that it was Aubameyang's first open play goal last game says everything. Really, a player like
exactly.
Aubameyang couldn't score a goal, and I think yes, a lot of it is down to him being off form, but I think a lot of it is also down to a poor system. Really,
Yeah,
so yeah, it's a massive problem with Arsenal. I feel like it's a problem that I don't know who can solve it. Maybe Pochettino is the only person, maybe with the credentials, to try to
yeah,
tackle such a big issue. But there's just it just seems like the club is broken from top to bottom.
yeah,
And unlike United, who have similar problems, at least United spent a considerable amount of money. At least United have a squad, even if the manager is not the most talented tactically, they can still do something because they have Bruno Fernandes to get them out of trouble.
exactly.
Arsenal don't seem to have that.
Yeah,
So yeah, I don't know what to say about Arsenal.
yeah.
But until yeah, so you can go.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say Arsenal are a bit of a confusing bunch to say the least, because I rate people like Danny Ceballos and Saka. Like I feel like those are really creative midfielders that will make stuff happen in your team, and I just don't
Mm,
understand how you aren't getting the most out of them in a team like this.
mm,
Ceballos is a playmaker, Saka's a playmaker, Aubameyang's just a goal scorer and a half. Pep is supposed to be a creator, Maitland Niles is supposed to be a creator. I don't
mm,
understand how the system isn't working. I I don't know
mm,
how everything is just faltering right now. It doesn't make logical sense because I would say Ceballos is a very creative player. That's why they extended his loan from Real Madrid. I don't think he's a great
yeah.
defensive player. I think he's that unit that they can push forward through. And Nicola Pepe is supposed to be an attacking outlet for creativity wise, for assists. He's supposed to be that guy that puts that ball in the box and Aubameyang puts it in the
Mm,
back of the net. And Saka's
yeah.
just an amazing talent, and moving forward, you can see his ambition, his drive, and his skill. It's just blatant, and I don't know how they aren't getting the most out of these games. I don't know why Arsenal looks so stale. I don't know why they just look so just
Mm,
lost. And maybe that is all on Arteta. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. But I
yeah.
thought Arsenal looked really promising last season. They won 2 trophies. They
Mm,
walked away last
mm,
season winning 2 trophies, somehow managing European qualification despite not finishing top six. And I
yeah.
thought this was going to be the season for Arteta. I really did as a neutral. Well, or as a
Mm.
United fan, should I say. But yeah, I really thought
like
this was going to be the season. And I'm confused.
what's the bias? I don't know. You know,
Yeah,
I worry about his consistency, but at the
yeah,
same time, has he been
definitely.
played enough? You know, that's also a question.
Yeah,
But it's weird with Arsenal because you think that players are good enough, but I feel like we saw the same thing under Unai Emery. They had a really good start under him, and then it just seemed to all fall apart like horrendously. So
yeah.
it's a weird one, but we can have fun with it. Like I want to know, how would you play this squad?
Hmm.
Starting lineup was.
Personally, well, I'm obviously going to go off the top of my head. I would want to play Leno in goal, obviously. I love
Mm.
Tierney, and I think you get the most out of him as a wing back or a left back, and I want to see him played not as a left-sided centre back. He
Yeah.
just offers so much going forward, and again, he's one of those talents that I looked at Arsenal signing and just went, where the hell are these signings coming from? Why is United not doing this? This is a player that has so much potential, and just it pains me when somebody gets a player like that. So I play Tierney. I would probably. Oh, the centre backs are terrible.
Horrible.
I'm actually gonna have to like
Oh, it's
look
horrible
at the
things.
squad for a second here. Who are decent centre backs here? So it's gonna
Yeah.
be Gabriel and probably David Luiz. Let's go Brazilian, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, centre back's a big issue there. They need someone to pair with Gabriel. I don't know if Rob Holding's the man to do it. I haven't seen the best of him for
Yeah.
a while, and he's just been out of it for quite some time. Right back, we have to go Bellerin. I don't see how Maitland Niles gets in ahead of him, in all honesty. Bellerin is a better
Mm.
player, and I probably would go something like a 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1 with this team. I don't know how
Okay.
Alneni's made it back into the starting lineup, but he's kind of been that Scott for Arteta, if that makes sense. That's Scott McTominay.
Mm. Yeah, yeah.
Um, so I'd probably go like Alneni in holding while Party's out, and then I'd do a
Okay.
Ceballos
Okay, I
and a
guess you can
Willock.
put him in,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
how bad is the injury?
I don't actually know how long he's out for, but he's out for now. That's as much as I know.
Oh.
That Party's out, but he would start game in, game out, and then you would have
And
to
then you
play
can put
someone
him in.
like a
Let's just
Willock.
make a
Yeah,
general lineup.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So it'd be a Party, it'd be a Ceballos, oh, and it just you'd have to rely on a youth here, because again, the squad just isn't complete, if that makes sense as well. Like I can
Yeah.
see why Arteta's defaulted to this three at the back, because who the hell are you going to play in midfield, honestly? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Like from that perspective, I completely see where he's coming from with the three at the back, because you're only playing two midfielders. So I definitely see where he's coming from there, but you'd have to do a
Mm-hmm.
Party, somehow Alneni as well, and then Ceballos probably. That's probably the best lineup on paper right now that Arsenal have. And then I would go like a Saka up front on the left, uh,
Yeah.
Aubameyang through the middle, and a Pepe or Willian on the right. That doesn't seem like a bad team. That seems like a
It
good
doesn't.
enough
Yeah.
team.
Mm.
That's the
It's a
thing.
team that
So
shouldn't be languishing around
yeah,
divisions.
it should definitely be nowhere near that. You shouldn't be in the conversation with Fulham, Brighton, West Brom, and who else is there
Mm.
now? But like, how is Arsenal's name being tarnished like this? Like, as
It's
much as
insane.
it is fun to banter them, like this is not okay for where they're at. They should be a lot
Yeah.
better off. You should not be three
Mm.
points behind Newcastle, who has a game in hand over you. That should not be where
Yeah.
Arsenal are. And I don't
They're
understand how they.
horrible, but they're
Yeah.
much better than that. I love bantering Arsenal, but like I feel like
Yeah, exactly.
they're much better than they're showing right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who's the player they bought from? Southampton, Romero, I think, or Romero.
Oh no, they got Suarez, Cedric Suarez, the right
Oh,
back.
it's City Suarez.
Like they need
Oh, what
another
did I
right
think of
back,
it?
you know. He doesn't make the starting 11 anytime soon, and he's an injury room patient. That's all he is.
Mm.
He lives
It
in
was
the
a weird
injury room.
signing, to be honest.
He's a very weird
Yeah.
signing because he didn't step foot on in an Arsenal shirt when he went on loan with the loan to
Yeah,
buy, and then they bought him for like why? You have Bellerin, you have Maitland Niles. I don't know what you're trying to achieve with
they bought
this.
him to make up the numbers, clearly.
Yeah, they have so many areas that it should rather strengthen. Like relying on
Mm.
Joe Willock to get you a goal is not exactly ideal when you just spend
Yeah.
money on Cedric Suarez, who doesn't even make Southampton's first 11 anymore.
Mm.
I think that should say
Yeah,
enough of where they're at.
yeah, it's insane. But weirdly enough, as you said it,
Yeah,
I'm actually gonna go for the back three. You know?
yeah,
The more I think about it, I think it suits them the most. But I don't think it should be played as defensively. I think you can use those wing backs to your advantage, and I think you can press way more than they do.
yeah,
I mean, we've seen Chelsea in the past do wonders with the back three. So
exactly.
for
Conte
me,
won a title with a back
in
three. It's not like a back
yeah,
three's bad. It's definitely
yeah, it
usable.
can work.
It just depends on the
It can work.
system.
Yeah, yeah. And you don't have to be playing. You don't have to be playing five at the back. You can be three and with attacking wing backs. And
Yeah,
for a team that lacks goals, they're in desperate need of that.
and that's what
So
Arsenal on paper are lining up as, admittedly.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, continue.
But for me, I'd go for Kieran Tierney and what's called left wing back. I think he's got the creativity going forward,
Yeah,
and yeah, I think he's the best person for that position. I'd play Gabriel next to him. I think he's someone who needs to be playing every game because
yeah.
as much as
Well, he's bad now,
he's
so
yeah, we'll talk about that record after that. But
yeah,
like, as much as he hasn't been the most consistent, I think he's the best centre back of the club. And I feel like, you know, you need to play your players consistently to get the best out of them. I feel like we've
yeah,
seen it at so many clubs. We've seen it at Manchester United. Players who were maybe French players before got game time under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and they've started fine.
yeah,
So I'd play him every game, really. I'd play David Luiz actually. I think he really works in the back three. I play him as the sweeper position in the back three. I think he won the league doing that at Chelsea, and I think that's the only way you can get a good David Luiz.
yeah.
Do it consistently, not this chopping and changing that Ole and Ateta do. Um,
That
next to
actually begs the
him,
question quickly. Do you think David Luiz should be playing more of a central defensive midfielder role?
he actually played at PSG sometimes.
Yeah, it's like because I think his creativity is really out there. His just skill on the ball
Mm,
is really high level, and that's what makes David
yeah,
Luiz so well known. It's those balls, it's those free kicks, it's how he controls
yeah,
the ball. It's so
yeah.
with him being a liability,
What
being the
he
last man, why not push him forward a little bit, especially with him getting older? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, yeah. With those long balls, what he does from centre back is what kind of Carrick used to do in CDM. So
Yeah,
maybe it can work really well, you know. And he's not playing at the anyway in defense at the moment, so
yeah,
might as well try push him up in a position that you like him. So yeah, no, I think it's something to look at. Really,
yeah. But yeah, continue.
yeah. Yeah, that was a good point though. I don't know who to play next to WWE.
I
Honestly,
feel like it's
I
Rob
think
Holding or Mustafi. Have fun. Those are
definitely
your
Rob
set.
Holding there.
Yeah, those are basically the
I
set of choices.
I ain't touching Mustafi.
Yeah,
I'm running very far, far away from Mustafi and Socrates. So
yeah, exactly.
I'll get Rob Holding to finish the three. And I think the system suits Bellerin because I think Bellerin is a horrible defender. I think he's really, really bad at defending. But
Yeah,
offensively, he's quick, he's got a cross. So I think
exactly.
playing as a wingback is perfect for him. I don't see any other system where he works.
Yeah,
And midfield, I'm gonna go for experience from here. And I know a lot of Arsenal fans, and maybe even you will disagree with me. You think maybe Nketiah or Saka, who are brilliant players, but I think there's some experienced players who can be given a chance now.
yeah,
So I definitely play Partey.
yeah.
Next to Partey, oh,
Oh yeah, are you
it's
sticking with
tricky, man.
the 3-4-3 that Arsenal are like currently playing? Is that what you same formation? So
What's
two
called?
midfielders or you
Yeah,
and
yeah,
three
basically.
strikers? Yeah,
Yeah.
in three
Well, it's
fours.
like a 5-5-3-2 or a 3-4. 3 for what?
A 3-4-3 is
It's
what
like
I
a
was
5
on. So a 5-2-3
3.
if you want to go that way.
Yeah, and I want to play two strikers and not three.
Okay, so you want three in the midfield then, just to
Yeah.
be clear.
So kind of
Okay.
like what United do. What
Yeah.
United do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely Partey.
Yeah.
I guess it kind of has to be El Nini.
That's the
Oh,
crazy
oh,
part. Like, what else are you gonna do?
yeah. This midfield is whack, which is insane considering once upon a time Arsenal were all about the midfield. Every season they were buying a midfielder,
Patrick
but
Vieira, like just right there.
mm,
You're gonna say El
how the
Neni
standards
is
have dropped.
Patrick Vieira? Like,
And then
oh.
Shaka's not consistent enough. That's his problem.
Yeah, and Shaka's also just, I think he's still kind of not liked by the fans as well. I think he
Mm-hmm.
doesn't quite have a place at the club anymore. I feel like he's destined for a move away, in my opinion. Just to
Mm.
touch on him for a sec.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna have to go with Alnelli. It doesn't seem like I have much of a choice.
Yeah,
So Alnelli and what's his name again?
party.
Partey. In front of them, I play William, and I know a lot of people disagree with that,
Yeah.
but I think yes, he might be a bit inconsistent, but I think he's a talented player.
A bit
And
very, very generous this season.
I guess,
His
but what
debut
else
was
you got? You know?
fantastic, and then it was, where am I? I don't know what this is
Um,
anymore. Ugh,
yeah, I don't know. Maybe he doesn't like the system because at
maybe.
Chelsea he wasn't consistent, but he wasn't this
Yeah,
inconsistent. So I feel like
exactly.
there must be something else going on here. There must be something else.
Yeah,
But I play him the 10. I think it'd be very good for them in the transition because he's not the slowest I play. And
yeah,
then
he's
front
still pretty
two,
pacey.
front two, I go for the most experience. I go for Bamian and Lacazette, and that's how I play Arsenal.
Yeah, I kind of am tempted to see the Aubameyang and Lacazette as actual just striker pairing. I'm very curious to
Yeah.
see how that would work. I think that could work very well because they play with each
Mm,
other very well in general. And Aubameyang off the
yeah.
left, I just always feel like you have to shift him central because he's a goal scorer.
Mm,
Why would you not try shift him
yeah.
central? Like he's very quick, admittedly, he can do a job down the wing, but when you're lacking
Yeah.
goals, you have to play them down the middle right now. It just
Yeah.
makes logical sense. Yeah.
And we've seen United play the style where
Yeah,
the strikers are central and they split from time to time. Having played the left wing, I think it'll suit Aubameyang well. And I think
yeah, because then he
if
can
that gets
drift as
going,
well. Yeah,
yeah, if that gets going, and with what's his name again, like I said,
Lacazette.
helping with Holder from time to time, I think they could score a lot of goals those two.
Yeah, I think maybe it's
Mm.
tinker time for Arteta, as weird as it sounds. It's time for him
Yeah,
to figure out what the best way forward with this Arsenal squad is, because there's a lot up for debate. But yeah,
otherwise he's getting
what
sacked.
were your thoughts on just the game overall?
Yeah, no, it was an interesting game. I think, as I said, I think Southampton dominated more so in the second half. I think they had all the ball position. They pressed very high. Rob Hasenhutl's team is very good. Like it's insane how good they are.
Yeah,
And with Danny Ings, they've got the goals. With Will Prowse, they're really, really good making. Yes, they won't finish where they are at the moment because they don't have the talent. Let's be honest. They don't have the squad to go the whole season and compete with
yes,
the United and the Chelsea of this world. But they've got a really good thing going, and they dominated. They played like the big team, as I said, and Arsenal were forced to play on the counter. And yeah, I think the red card it made it even worse. I think
yeah,
Arsenal sank even deeper, and I think some people would say it wasn't. Maybe it was harsh, but I think they were clear fouls, and I think
yeah.
Gabriel definitely
It was
deserved the red
building up.
card.
It's kind of like the Fred red card. It was kind of just building
Mm,
over the course of the game. Not as evident, but it is definitely
yeah,
building.
yeah,
And what were your thoughts
yeah. And
about
he
the
should have.
Alneni potential red card if you saw that challenge?
To be honest, I didn't. What happened
Yeah,
exactly?
Alneni, I think, hit one of the players in the face, one of the
Mm.
while the ball was out of play. I think it was on a corner, if I remember correctly.
Deliberately,
Yeah, deliberately. And VAR
and
didn't
he
look
didn't
at
get a
it.
card.
Yeah,
Yeah,
a
you
lot of
see,
people
this is
looked
where
at that for
VR
talking
becomes the
points.
problem.
Yeah, It's the consistency
Don't
for
worry,
VAR
Major
for me.
Parliament.
That's why I'm upset with it. It's the VAR.
Yeah, yeah. Look, I'll never be on the let's get VAR out team because I feel like that's ridiculous. To
I
me,
just want
I
it
feel
to be
like the systems here,
consistent. Yeah.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
they can
I
make
feel
the
like the
right
systems
calls
here,
so often. Yeah, it's upsetting. Yeah, sorry to interrupt so many times, but yeah.
yeah. No, I get you. You don't you really don't like VAR. And I can
Yeah.
relate. I've heard some players say football was better before VAR came, and I just think you need to improve the system, not get rid of it. I
Yes.
think there was always going to be problems,
Yeah.
and definitely it can work because you've seen other leagues be more consistent. What's wrong in the Premier League?
Yeah.
The Premier League just likes. It's always like the Premier League wants to stand out in the wrong way.
Yeah. It's very
To be
weird.
honest, so I don't know what's going on in the Premier League. I think they have to get their act straight because they're so inconsistent. They'll do one
Exactly.
thing for one game, and then the next game,
The exact same
exact
thing
same scenario,
happens,
but
and then
they
it doesn't. Yeah. I
they
can't.
don't do it. It just doesn't make sense really.
Yeah.
So
That's why
yeah, no,
I
they need
don't
to
like
improve.
VAR. Yeah. They very much can't deal with it. But yeah, touching
Mm.
more on the game itself. Anything else you want to say about it? Besides Arsenal suck and Southampton are actually pretty good, despite what people thought. I think that sums it up pretty
I don't
well.
know. I don't know where they go next. Honestly, I don't know what happens with Arsenal. I guess they have to change something. You can't play the same thing and keep losing. It just doesn't work like that. You have to change something to at least give hope, to give the fans a different perspective. And I think, as much as I said, play the five in the formation I would play, he's not doing it properly. So maybe just go back to basics. Maybe a 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1, and
Yeah.
just use the talent you have at the top of the because that is the best part of your team. Your defense is crap. So I don't know
Exactly.
why you're trying to rely on it. So yeah, something needs to change there. And yeah, Southampton must just keep doing what they're doing. They're brilliant.
And touching on Southampton a little bit, do you think they're in a title race right now? Because it's a big
No, I
question.
don't think
It's a
so.
big question. Do you think
I don't think so.
they can
I
keep
think
it up? Yeah.
I think it's the same situation with Everton. I think eventually they're going to drop away because, like, that's just reality. They don't have good enough players. Leicester did a couple of seasons ago, but I think as good as Leicester were at what they do, the counter-attacking football, everybody else was also pretty crap. Let's be honest. Man
Yeah.
City were horrible. United were horrible. So I feel like they had huge motivation that season, and they were in a really
Yeah.
good space. With Southampton, I think they'll finish closer to the top. I think they'll finish top seven, top eight. I don't want to say at worst, but they'll be around there. But
Yeah.
I just think other teams have better players in them, and with the injury crisis, depth is going to be important. And I just think they have a ceiling. They're a good team. They play good football. They have a good manager, but there's that ceiling, and it's the same
Yeah.
ceiling I think Everton have hit and are going to hit again. And yeah, no, sadly, I don't think so.
Okay. Interesting take. Because I
Do
personally
you think
think
they're in a title race?
I don't know quite a title race, but I think they could be challenging for a European spot this season. I don't know, quite
I
know
can
if it's
see
going to be
Europa League.
Champions League, but they're definitely going to challenge for a European slot. I think they will get
Mm,
European football by the end of the season on their current
that would be
trajectory.
amazing.
If they lift the league title, so be it. I will gladly accept that. But I don't think that they quite have enough at the end of the day. Because, like you said, injuries
If they
happen,
lift,
and if they somehow pull that off, it would be a miracle. Honestly, Ralph
yeah,
Hasenhüttl deserves a statue for that.
yeah. If they lift the Premier League title,
Yeah.
we're firing Ole, and the next day we're hiring Hasenhüttl. No
And
question
then we're
about
gonna
it.
lose the next 3 games in a row because our boys don't know how to perform to that level, and we're just gonna be like, why do we
Yeah,
do this?
yeah.
Uh,
Being a United
but
fan,
yeah,
but yeah, no, not title race. I think Europa League they would appreciate that because I feel like it's I think it's the level they belong. They belong in the Europa League. I think when I compare them to teams there, I think they'll beat most of them. So
in
it'd be
all
very interesting.
honesty,
But
yeah,
there's tough competition though.
yeah,
Everton, Wolves,
very
Villa,
tough.
even, and and them. So
West
I
Ham has
think it
also
will
come
be
out
an
of
easy
nowhere.
ride.
Yeah,
West Ham as well. West Ham have the
yeah,
thing about West Ham as well. They have the players. With
yeah,
Villa, you worry that maybe if McGinn gets injured or Grealish gets injured, it's over. But
yeah,
West Ham have good players.
yeah. I've always kind of thought that West Ham are kind of just sleeping giants, just waiting,
Mm,
just waiting to take that
mm.
opportunity. And if they somehow do it on David Moyes, and just as a United fan, my blood boils a little bit. It's unacceptable. But yeah, I think we can move on to the last big talking point of yesterday's games: the Leicester versus Everton.
Hmm. Interesting game. I
Yeah,
didn't watch the whole game because I was trying to keep tabs on Arsenal as well.
yeah,
But it was actually a pretty tight game, to be honest. Like the shots, Leicester at 14, Everton at 11. Leicester, okay, two on target. I feel like they struggled to release volume in this game, and then six for Everton. So I felt like it wasn't as clear cut as the score would predict, as the score would say it was 2-0. But I think a really good goal from Richarlison, and apparently he scores a lot against Leicester. I didn't know that.
yeah. That was really
And
good goal.
uh, it was really good. And a scruffy goal for Mason Holgate.
Yeah,
But I think on the balance, Everton were the slightly better team. And I feel that's the story at Leicester, you know? They're very inconsistent. Like the
yeah,
one day they look like they're gonna win the league, and the next day they look like they probably would even make top four. So it's a
yeah,
very weird one. And then yeah, Everton as well. It seems like they're getting back on form, but I feel like I don't know what's happened. Oh, what's his name again? Oh, he wasn't even playing, but what's his name again? I'm forgetting his name. The
position.
guy was amazing at
Which
the
team?
start of the season for Everton.
James.
Yeah, he seems to have disappeared. I don't know
Well,
what's
he's
going on there.
injured.
Really?
Yeah, he's
Okay.
injured. He
But
has
even
such
before
a bad
that,
injury
like
record. That's the issue with him. He
I didn't know
he
that.
is just waiting to break a leg as he goes on the pitch, and
Mm,
he is a very
that's a
necessary
shame.
part for Everton. Sadly,
Mm. But they've got a good player in Sigurdsson.
yeah,
I feel like
definitely.
Sigurdsson should have played for he should have played for a big team. I feel like he missed out in his career because I think, especially at Swansea, there was some periods where his creativity was over the charts. Really.
Yeah, definitely do agree. But I
Mm.
kind of do feel like this game was a bit more cut and dry than
Really?
what the stats would say. I just think Leicester were poor. I don't think they managed to get anything rolling at any given time. I just felt
Mm.
like very lackluster. It felt like Everton were definitely the better team and they deserved to win. There's no doubt in my mind about that. I just feel like Leicester have just been so inconsistent this season. Like
Mm.
exactly what you said. Last game they looked like they were title challengers again. They look like they found their rhythm. They look like they found what works for them. They try it again and they just fail abysmally
Mm.
against Everton.
Do you think? Do you think they rely too much on body?
To an extent, yes. Like even in their last game, they it was completely reliant on Madison. That
Mm.
win doesn't happen if Madison doesn't just put in a shift and a half. I, I feel like
Mm.
to get the best out of everyone in the team, you need to be doing a lot more, and it doesn't feel like he's quite gotten it yet. Like Brendan
Yeah.
Rodgers has it on and off, and it's very weird to watch as a neutral. Uh, because one day they look
Mm.
really good, the next day they're down a man, everybody looks a bit lost, they're not quite doing anything right, but they're
Mm.
close to it. You can see they're close to it, and they're struggling with that
Yeah.
final product.
It's weird. I'm
Yeah.
looking at the starting lineup here, and I feel like it kind of lost the line in my opinion because I think Evans is injured, right?
Suspension is a suspension.
Okay, Evans wasn't there. So Winshew, where is he?
He's injured, as far as I
Yeah.
know.
So
Yeah.
see, then I've there are two main centre backs. They're playing Ndidi
Yeah.
in the back line. They're playing a two in front of the defense now to cater for that. And when they were amazing last season, it was clear it's Ndidi, Tillemans, and Madison. And there was that spine with
Yeah.
Evans and Suruchi behind them, and they were just going. So I feel like they don't have that anymore. So creativity has dropped. And then now I feel like the problems they have up front are exposed because as much as Perez played last season, I don't think his numbers are amazing.
No.
Madison is too inconsistent. Barnes,
He's
He's
hit or
a
miss,
good
to say
player.
the least. Yeah,
Yeah, a lot of energy, but then you can't rely on him to score game in game out.
yeah,
And
not a good
Vardy's the
finisher, to
only
say the least.
yeah, and Vardy seems to be the only consistent player here. So I think
Yeah,
when you look at the starting lineup, you can see the problems.
yeah. Uh, it kind of also just is teams have learned to play around Leicester because Leicester have played around Vardy basically exclusively for the past what
Mm,
5, 6, 7 years, as long as Vardy's been there.
mm,
And if you cut Vardy off, it just feels like Leicester just can't do anything. It requires James Maddison stepping up,
mm,
taking that shot. It requires Tielemans to put one just past the keeper, catch him off guard. Harvey Barnes to just do something magical. It,
mm.
it feels like the game plan
Honestly,
is very Vardy centric.
yeah. I feel like they've changed their style a little bit because, and people seem to think it's the other way around. See, people seem to think they get counted a lot this season. And I don't agree, hey. I feel like last season playing with that three in midfield, they play really high pressing, possession based football, and then they look to release Vardy on the counter at times.
Yeah,
And I think that worked well because then you get more from Tillemans, you get more from Madison. Now it seems like they've gone back to what Leicester used to do under Ranieri, where it was just heavy over the top, Vardy runs, and it's just counter
yeah,
centric. And I feel like that's a bit one dimensional, and
yeah.
that might be a big part of the problem.
Yeah, but even if you're just looking at stats for the game, that should say enough. Leicester had 61% of the ball. I just felt like they
Okay.
couldn't assert themselves on the game. They had 14
Mm,
shots, created 11 chances, but only 2 shots on target.
mm.
Like,
Maybe that's the problem.
yeah, they're not
Maybe
getting the
Everton
right chances. Yeah,
tried to play. It's like Everton played the exact way they want to play, and they were kind of forced to come out, and then
yeah.
they were maybe a bit uncomfortable.
Ancelotti definitely just hit the nail on the head for this game. No question about
Mm,
it.
mm,
Fantastic from Everton. It just was very poor from Leicester. They're a very hot and cold
yeah,
team, and it just feels like there's no balance. And I very much hope they find that balance because I do like watching Leicester. They are a team I enjoy
mm.
watching, and but when it's
Especially under
bad,
Brendan
it's
Rodgers.
bad. It's very
Yeah,
much
and we saw
United in
last
an
season as
extent.
well.
Yeah, yeah,
Last season, like the lead they dropped was ridiculous because they had a healthy lead over United. Somehow, they
yeah.
managed to drop all those points.
Yeah, now they've got European football that they're balancing as well, and
Mm.
it's
Which
very
they're doing pretty
difficult.
well there,
Yeah,
actually.
they've been fantastic there. They've been dominating Europa, and they've been just doing great things there. I wouldn't be surprised if we ran
Yeah,
into them while going through it, if we go through it, that is. But that's a story for another day, I
yeah.
think.
Because we're in that tournament.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but what do you think of Everton? Like where they are at the moment?
Yeah, Everton are in a much stronger place than they were last season. But
Mm,
injuries are just knocking on their door right now, and it's just you can feel the pain of all Everton fans because of that.
mm,
Because
mm,
Allen was a fantastic signing, Doucouré would definitely deserve to stay in the Prem, and then getting James on top of that, that just completely revolutionized Everton. It turned
mm,
them
mm,
from knocking on the door of like top 8 more or less. That's where I would have put Everton most seasons, like top 8. You'd expect them
mm,
to just fall a little bit short of everyone and not quite be in that conversation, but still be there. That high mid-table.
mm,
That's kind of where Everton's always been. But with these players and Ancelotti taking the helm, it feels like they are pushing to be one of the top teams. They're pushing to be the top team in Liverpool. They're pushing to
mm,
go out of their depth and just get into European
mm,
competitions again, get into just anything again. And it's come with fantastic success this season. But injuries and suspensions
mm,
left, right, and centre, it literally just feels like it hasn't gone Everton's way, if you want to look
yeah,
at it like that. And they've still done fantastically in the league. They're sitting in fifth? Yeah, fifth right now.
yeah. That's a good position,
And
and
they're
not
doing
too
great,
far
yeah.
behind the top, really.
Yeah, exactly. Everything's so tight right
Mm,
now. Anybody could come from anywhere, and Everton
mm,
just need to keep up. few run of fixtures, and they'll do just fine. I'm
Yeah.
very worried about
I,
the competition this year. It's tough.
yeah. I remember arguing with a very loud Spurs fan this
Yeah.
preseason. You might know who I'm talking about, but he was basically saying that Everton are basically going to finish in the top four or compete in the top four, and they have this wonder squad. And I was saying to him, not really, because they've brought in a few quality players, but I just don't rate their bench. I mean, you've got Toussaint on the bench, you've got Bernard, who's quite inconsistent. He's
Yeah.
never been consistently amazing, and Tom Davis is hitting this as well. So I feel like it's they're unlucky because they got the right manager and the right players, but maybe in the wrong season of the hectic schedule now. I think there's so many games and there's so many injuries. So I think, as you say, that is their downfall, injuries, and the
Yeah.
fact that I think they rely on a couple of players. I mean, I just wonder what's going to happen when Calvert Lewin gets injured.
Yeah. Exactly. Uh,
Yeah.
it's because we saw how bad Everton looked when Richarlison was injured. We saw how bad they look without Digne right
Mm,
now.
mm,
They look how bad they look without James, but they're still grinding out results. They're still doing everything they can to kind of push forward and keep on going. And it hasn't
mm,
been bad by any stretch of the imagination, but you can tell they're missing something. You can tell they're missing a lot of pieces because their first team
yeah.
is very strong on paper. Their first team should be able to
Yeah.
compete against
To
the
beat
best in the
anyone,
league.
yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those teams. They're the dark horse in the corner, just looking
Mm,
for a sign of weakness and will exploit you. I think credit to Everton this season. They've done great and they're only going to get
yeah.
better.
Yeah. So who finishes higher and what positions?
Between who? Everton and Leicester?
Leicester. Yeah.
I, I I don't like that only because Leicester are so hot and cold. They could genuinely win the league if they wanted to, if they went on that hot
Mm,
streak. I have no doubt about that. I think Leicester have the highest ceiling than Everton. I think they have better
mm,
players. I think Brendan Rodgers can really get the best out of these players at moments. And even man to
yeah.
man, I think a combined 11 between Leicester and Everton would probably have a bit more Leicester
Could do
players in it.
amazing things.
Yeah, it could do
That
really
11
amazing
could be
things. So.
amazing, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because Leicester just lost Chilwell, put Digne in that slot. Wow already. Just wow already. Ricardo Pereira is
Mm,
coming back from injury. Right back sorted. Centre backs, again, they've gone through injuries, but Wesley Fofana has had a breakout season. He's looked fantastic. And then Schmeichel
mm.
versus Pickford.
No
Yeah,
competition.
Schmeichel. Yeah, Schmeichel's in that any day of the week. And then you could maybe have
Yeah.
Keane and Fofana in or something like that right now with current squads.
Mm,
And then
mm.
midfield, uh, you're probably going to put Tielemans, Allen, Madison. That's personally what I'd do.
No, indeed.
Oh yeah, Didi has to be considered. Didi versus Allen's a great battle. I feel like either
Mm.
or you'll be
That's a
fine.
tough one.
Yeah, either or you'll be fine, in my
Yeah.
opinion. So it's not exactly a train smash, but then it comes down to the wingers. You're gonna take Richarlison, and then you go Vardy and probably Barnes, I guess.
Mm.
It's really,
So
really
are you saying
close.
Rodriguez doesn't get in?
Well, I'm talking about currently who's available right now. I think
Okay,
James
okay, fine.
walks into most teams in the Prem, in my honest opinion. He has a
Mm,
fantastic ceiling, but him injury prone is just such a
mm,
Achilles heel, quite literally. His weakness is
yeah.
that he can gets injured so often, and he can't play a
Mm,
full 90. You can't reliably play a full 90 on him. But I do think he is a
mm,
very good player, and he would make the starting 11 if he was fit right now.
mm. I think they're very similar teams,
Yeah,
like similar styles, but I think Leicester have slightly better players, to be honest, and I think
I wouldn't quite put it
I think
slightly.
they'll
I would
finish higher.
say I wouldn't put it, it's an in between between slight and like more. Like a lot more
I guess,
versus
yeah.
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 They're
I think
better. They have better players.
mm, I think the wings. I think what's the name again? Everton beats them there.
Yeah,
With if you want to play. if you want to play
Yeah, definitely.
Rodriguez there, it will be with Charles. I feel like Leicester don't have that. The only pace they have is from Vardy, which is a problem.
Yes,
But
they have
yeah,
Barnes and Under, who isn't actually their player. It's technically still on loan from
uh,
Roma, and both of them are young and unproven talent. They're just raw talent at
to be
this
honest,
point.
the first time I
Yeah,
saw under,
yeah. This is his first start. I'm pretty
didn't
sure.
really know about
He's
him.
always been
Okay,
a.
okay,
He hasn't started yet. Though. I'm pretty sure it's his first start this season. But yeah,
yeah,
he's
yeah.
got good potential. I will definitely rate him. It's just a case of,
Mm.
do I think he's better than Richarlison or James Rodriguez? No. No, not even
Mm.
close. Maybe one day, but no, not a chance.
Yeah. So personally,
Yeah,
I'm gonna give a generic answer.
yeah,
I don't think they make top four. To be honest,
yeah,
I don't know. Maybe I'm just stuck to the whole traditional idea of United City. So I think sixth and seventh, with Leicester in sixth and
yeah.
Everton in seventh.
I can kind of agree with that. I think they'll be neck and neck fighting for that European spot. And then if somebody
Yeah,
edges it from them, so be it. Whether it be like a Southampton, whether it be a West Ham, I think this is just going to be a really good battle moving forward for everybody.
yeah, yeah. A lot of good subplots in the season.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Lots and lots to just think about with this league, and just so much more to come from the Prem. And I'm just really
yeah,
excited to move forward and see what happens. Like, will
yeah.
we see Sheffield United somehow win a football game? Like, that's a
Mm-hmm.
massive thing because they were such a good team last season, and now they're sitting in relegation at 0 point with 0 wins and
Mm-hmm.
1 point because they got one draw.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many storylines that can happen here. Like, if Sheffield somehow just he gets them together and he just pushes them out of this relegation scrap, it's just like such a hero story. And then there's like
Yeah,
Fulham, they've just escaped from the relegation zone. They just drew with City and Liverpool, and they're looking like a good team. And
yeah. It's
yeah, this
competitive top to
yeah.
bottom.
Exactly, and there's just room for a lot of storylines. There's room for a lot of enjoyment as a neutral. There's just it's a really good season, and I just really
Yeah.
am looking forward to how it ends because it could end any number of ways. I don't think any team is per se safe from relegation at this point, but you would say like the Liverpools and the Spurs are like well clear, but never know
Uh,
at this point. I feel like technically Arsenal in a relegation scrap right now. Who would have called that at the beginning of the season? I think we all put Arsenal
it
in our
serves
top
the owners
four.
right, really.
Yeah,
It serves the owners right. Like I hope there's gonna be a wake up call.
exactly. But yeah,
Yeah,
I think that
yeah.
was a great way to end off the show.
One more question:
Yeah,
are you still speaking with City for the title, or do you think
I
you're
will only
completely
do
out
it
of it?
because I'm stubborn, but I genuinely do think that they've just fallen off a cliff, unfortunately. But yeah,
Yeah,
I'm gonna still
yeah.
stick by my guns because I'm just gonna be very stubborn in it. I'm not even going to question it. I'm just going to be stubborn,
Yeah,
and if it happens, it happens. It probably won't, but let's see.
yeah.
Personally,
I think
I
it's gonna
don't
be
know, but it's going to be good.
yeah, it's gonna be an entertaining title race.
Yeah,
Honestly, I'll throw United in the ring because you never know. I don't
yeah,
think they'll win it, but I think it will be
yeah.
probably be closer than we've ever been before.
I think anybody
Um,
in the top 10 has a shot for the title this season right now.
yeah,
That's
imagine that's
ridiculous to
insane.
say. But yeah, you
Um,
see a West Ham lifting the trophy, you won't be blown away just because of what the season has held and what you've seen from them.
that'd be insane though.
Yeah, just imagine David Moyes getting that Premier League winners medal. Oh,
I'll cry. I'll
can't.
cry, honestly. um,
But yeah,
yeah, I think I'm gonna stick with my prediction as I'll say Chelsea. Honestly, I do think Liverpool will retain, but I think Chelsea have a good chance. They've put themselves in a good position. I feel like they're not 98 points good yet, but in this game they seem to be maybe
yeah.
good enough.
Let's see. That's all I have to say about this season. Just we
Yeah.
have to wait and see. It's going to be a good season. It's already been great. Only 13 games in, 12 for some clubs, 11 for Villa, I believe, because of the Newcastle
Mm,
game being
imagine.
cancelled.
Yeah.
It's been a mad season. I'm just expecting a lot more of this, and I'm just excited. It's going to be a good season.
Yeah.
But yeah, any last words?
Yeah, I'm just looking forward to United tonight,
Yeah,
and just December schedule is going to be entertaining. It's
yeah.
always an amazing period, It's holiday time.
Every other
Get
day
on
it's a game,
football.
basically.
Yeah,
It's
it's
amazing.
amazing, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited for that.
But yeah, that's it from me and Malota, and thank you for listening to our 43 podcast, and hope you enjoyed it. Please do subscribe if you did, leave a like, drop a comment on your thoughts from the weekend, well, from the weekday, because yeah, fixtures are in the weekday now. What a surprise. But yeah, thank you very much. I hope you guys enjoyed.